Hitting a baseball is probably the single hardest thing to do in all of sports. The best hitters of all time who fail 7 out of 10 times still end up with their face on a plaque in the Hall of Fame. But in recent years, baseball has evolved from a hitter going up to the plate trying to just get a hit, to now going up to the plate trying to hit home runs and do some damage. The league-wide average has dropped nearly 20 points since 2006, which can be attributed to both the home run mindset as well as pitchers throwing harder and nastier than ever. I mean, come on, look at this. How do you even make contact with that? But there's been one man who has stayed with the traditional hitting approach, and he's been a hitting machine ever since coming into the league. Year after year, he turns in a solid season and has received little to no recognition from the league, the fans, or the baseball writers. It took 13 full seasons for him to even get MVP votes, and almost 2,000 games in the major leagues before being named to the All-Star team. Nick Markakis is baseball's underappreciated superstar, as well as one of the best pure hitters and most durable outfielders in the game of baseball. Markakis' dominance was first put on display when he played at Young Harris College, a JUCO down in Georgia. Young Harris has seen a couple of major leaguers in Markakis, as well as Rockies outfielder Charlie Blackmon suit up for the ball club, and the duo have put up a 51.3 WAR in the major leagues. Markakis was a relentless hitter during his 2 years as a Mountain Lion. In 124 career games, Markakis collected 179 hits over 405 at-bats, good enough for a .442 batting average, while also belting 38 homers and driving in 166 runs. He was almost averaging 1.5 hits and RBIs a game during his 2 years at Young Harris. In addition to his outstanding hitting, Markakis was also one of the best pitchers in the country. Combining a fastball clocked in the upper 90s as well as a sharp breaking ball, he pitched to a 23-3 record during his JUCO career. In 188 career innings, he struck out 258 batters and pitched to a .306 ERA. A little bit of context as to just how good those numbers are. Markakis struck out 1.37 batters per inning, which is a higher rate than Justin Verlander did during his 2019 Cy Young Award season. The dude was a monster. He was named JUCO Player of the Year in both his seasons at Young Harris, and after his sophomore season, the Baltimore Orioles took him with the 7th overall pick in the 2003 MLB Draft. After flying through the Orioles system, he made the opening day roster in 2006. Since he made his debut, he's been one of the most consistent players in the game. If I were to ask you to name the best baseball player since 2006, who would you say? Albert Pujols, maybe? He was a monster with the Cardinals, but has slowed down since. Adrian Beltre, perhaps? He's a future Hall of Famer who flew under the radar for most of his career. What about Ichiro? One of the best pure hitters of all time and likely another lock for Cooperstown. Mike Trout seems to be the obvious answer and is likely the undisputed GOAT, but he made his debut much later than these guys. Nick Markakis has played in the most games since he made his debut in 2006 and recorded more base hits than all 4,193 players to come to the plate, except for 2 in Miguel Cabrera and Robinson Cano, both future Hall of Famers. He's also top 10 in most of the traditional offensive categories during that time frame, including runs, doubles, and walks, while placing 12th in RBI. Markakis has never been a superstar in the traditional sense, but his value and production have always been criminally underrated. In 2018, Markakis was named to his first All-Star team, setting a record for the most games played with 1,933 and the most hits in 2,172 for a player making his All-Star game debut. Think about that for a second. 1,933 games played without appearing in an All-Star game. There have only been 296 players who have reached that plateau in general. You gotta be a pretty darn good ball player to stick around for that long. In terms of just pure hits, where Markakis excels, he currently ranks 136th all-time with an astonishing 2,355. He's got more hits than, say, Jim Thome, Jeff Bagwell, Mike Schmidt, Willie Stargell, Joe DiMaggio, and Larry Walker, just to name a few. All Hall of Famers, by the way. But any player can be good during the era in which they play in. There are hundreds of noteworthy players who have played since 2006, but just how would they stack up against the greats? Turns out Markakis isn't just one of the best of his era, but one of the most durable to ever play right field. In the history of Major League Baseball, only 10 men have ever played 2,000 or more games as a right fielder. 7 of these players, in Clemente, Wainer, Hooper, Aaron, Ott, Gwynn, and Kaline, are members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. While Sosa certainly has the power numbers and may get inducted one day, we all know why he's not currently in. That leaves just Markakis and Dwight Evans, who's a fantastic player during his career, as the only ones not currently in Cooperstown who have played 2,000 or more games as a right fielder. Statistically, being a durable position player doesn't guarantee you entry into Cooperstown, despite the level of play and production you have to maintain to stay in the major leagues for that long. 244 men have played in over 2,000 games, with 95 of them, or about 40%, gaining entry to Cooperstown. Included in that total are some active players and some who are not yet eligible, but will likely get that plaque. In a little more exclusive company, 92 men have played at least 2,000 games or more at one position, with 45 of them, nearly half, going on to be Hall of Famers. So, if you're fortunate enough to play 2,000 or more games at any position in the major leagues, you have about a 50-50 shot at going to Cooperstown. Unfortunately for Markakis, as is the case with Dwight Evans, longevity is not going to get you into the Hall of Fame. The one magic number and milestone Markakis can hope to achieve is 3,000 hits, which he actually has an outside chance of getting. He would need to play for at least 3 or 4 more years, averaging around 150 to 160 hits during that time frame, to have a slim chance at getting 3,000. But with the already shortened 2020 season, it's highly unlikely he'll end up reaching the 3,000 hit mark. It'll be interesting to see when he's Hall of Fame eligible if the writers use this lost season against him. Had there been no COVID and the season was played out as normal, he would likely finish his career around or at 3,000 hits, which would gain him automatic entry to Cooperstown. With the season shortened, he's likely not going to reach a 3,000 hit mark. My guess is Hall of Fame writers and voters will use the less than 3,000 hits criteria against him, despite the fact that he was durable and would have reached that mark had there been no global pandemic. Nick Markakis has gone through his career very under the radar. He plays the game hard and contributes in so many ways, but the combination of having an old school approach and playing for some underperforming teams has hurt his chances of being formally recognized. Nick Markakis is a hitting machine and should go down as one of the best right fielders in the game's history.